Today, I've got a fresh new idea for you. Suncatcher Wreaths. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome. I wanted to quickly show you these beautiful pieces that I got from Temu. This is not a sponsored video, but there's one for each wreath. Then we have 3 different wreath sizes, a small, a medium, and then we have a grapevine wreath that is even larger. All right, so now we're going to start with the first, which is an owl wreath. Here's our beautiful little owl. And on the back, when you buy these, they have this like a plastic type cover on them. And then you're going to peel that off. If you can get it off with your fingernail, great. If not, grab a little tool, maybe even your Cricut tool, and just get the corner and peel this off. So on one side, it is going to be glossy or shiny. And on the back side, it is going to be matte. So you can choose whichever side you want to go forward. I'm going to be using some of this dark blue burlap. I got some scraps of greenery, and then this piece that originally came from Target. So here's the measurement on that smaller wreath. And these came from Dollar Tree, the first 2 wreaths that I showed you. All right, so we're going to wrap this around. Very easy. I don't even use glue when I first put them on here because if you wrap them correctly, they'll stay fine, and you just glue it on the end. So you're going to kind of pull it kind of tight. You don't want to pull it so tight that you're deforming the shape of your wreath, though. You know, just make sure you don't have any gaps, and it will hold the tail in there. And then you're just going to go round and around and around. Try to make sure you get your spacing right. You don't want any gaps, but you also don't want to be wasteful with this ribbon because really this is going to be a background. And the kind of idea I had for this was to make this look like a night sky. So that beautiful dark blue color for the owl. So this looks like a nighttime scenery. When you get it wrapped, you can cut it off and then flip it over and glue it on the back. You don't want any glue or edge pieces in the front if you want to achieve a high-end look. So I'm just going to press that down. Y'all protect your fingers, or you can use something else to kind of, a spatula or something to press it into place. Okay? So that's going to be our background. Now I'm going to start taking my greenery pieces. And this was from a really large stem that I had thrifted that I cut pieces off of. And for this particular wreath, we're going to make like a swag to begin with. So I'm going to take 2 pieces that are fairly similar and put them together. You can use a little bit of floral wire to wrap those together. I'm making sure that they almost mirror each other on the sides. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to be balanced. So I'm just going to take some of this, and this is like a 26 gauge wire. It's barely noticeable when you use it. But if you use a pipe cleaner, it might show. But, if you have to use a green pipe cleaner or black, you could certainly do that. Now, remember what I told you in other videos. If it's wrapped with paper on your pick, you can just pretty much pull those individual sections out. Then you could get your wire cutters and trim them down to whatever length is manageable. And I will start kind of layering on the top of this swag. I love these beautiful pieces together, and the little berries or the little blue bits in this fur actually is going to kind of match what's going on with the owl, and it reminds me of nighttime and the ribbon that we use to wrap around there. I just really like that. You can play around with your greenery to kind of intertwine the pieces and colors together. I want to put it up here on the top, but I don't want to put it in the center. So in order to make that happen, I'm just going to grab a longer piece of wire, and I'm going to wrap it around and firmly give it a twist in the back, and then twist again. And then I'm going to trim it off, and we're going to make our hanger out of this same piece. So what I'm going to do is wrap one side over the other, leaving a loop in the middle, and then wrap that wire back down onto itself. And it won't slide, but this won't be a heavy wreath either, so, either way is going to be okay. either, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. All right, so now we got our little hanger on the back, and it won't even show. And this is what we have so far. I'm going to go up to the top and just add a couple of more pieces. I want to round it out on the top to continue that round look. I think about the nighttime and the moon and how, daytime cycles into nighttime, and everything is a continuous circle. I'm just going to go with that. So now, because we have that beautiful blue ribbon on there, we have a place where we can actually push through and help hold our picks into place. And once you get those in there, all you have to do is go back with a little bit of hot glue. Sometimes it takes a minute to kind of play around with it. Just a little bit right where it pokes into the ribbon. Keep it from falling out or going any place. So far, so good. I'm trying to also place my colors in a way that I don't have the dark all on the front. I want to have some light and dark, and just like the night sky. You get some areas of cloudiness and some areas of darkness, and as the sun goes down, you get that beautiful bright explosion of sun in the sky and the deep, deep blue on the top. I was very inspired with this piece, and I hope that you like it. Now I'll just take these little extra pieces, these little bits and bobs, put these in here. I like how in the swag at the top, those two pieces of the brown little, almost like a seed pod, they almost mimic the shape of the owl's face and the way that his feathers lay on his face. And I think that's really cute. And I'm going to cut down some of the other pieces because I decided maybe I want to do a little something extra on the top. So one more little piece up here with the pine cone, making this swag much more rounded. Y'all don't have to do as many layers as me. Go through your scraps, see what you have. If you want to make this more on the winter side and you have snowy pieces left from Christmas, go ahead and use that. Now, I know I want him floating in there. Look how beautiful it already looks. So these are like an acrylic type disc that they're on. They're made to look like stained glass, but they're actually, they're not. And see, this is that 26 gauge wire. Okay, so they come with these holes at the top, and they come with chains that you could connect to them. I didn't feel like I wanted the chains in here because I didn't want them to necessarily be noticed. So with a very thin wire, it won't be as noticeable, and it will almost look like this little sun catcher is just kind of floating in the middle of this wreath. So twist them around. Now I got two little pieces on either side, and I'm going to put the top piece through the top. Just feed it right through, making sure you're catching that wire that's in the wreath down there. And then you can twist those two together on the back, just like one twist, because until you get the exact positioning, you just want to have it in place. Then, once you get the perfect position, you can go ahead and tighten that up. All right, so now I can kind of look at it and see how I want this to be and what is going to be almost center for this owl. So I'm looking at it, I'm going to stand it up, see how low it is, and then when it's right, I'm going to twist it tightly on the back on each side. And then at that point, if you want to go ahead and trim those down, you can trim them down. If not, you can just press them into place and do your trimming later. Beautiful. Looks like he's peeking through the trees. So then I thought, okay, well, why don't we do a little something on the bottom? Why not? This is mine. I'm going to make it my own, right? You take the inspiration and use whatever you have. And if you don't like a piece on the bottom, you don't have to do it. I'll take another piece of that wire, thread it through there. And the reason I'm not just using the glue here is because, for one thing, with glue, it's really going to show up on that dark blue background, and you would have to use quite a bit to hold the thickness of that little branch that greenery is on. So a piece of wire is really going to hold it in. Then you can add hot glue to that and everything will be secure. And I'm trying to make sure that I focus just the smallest amount of glue for the job needed because I don't want any squishing out and making a big mess. Then I'll take the pieces that I cut off of that other top piece and I'll just tuck those in too. So it's kind of on a smaller scale, but with the same pieces as what we already had going on up top. There. And that, yes, I like that. And I like to stand it up, look at all angles and see if this is what I like. And how beautiful is this owl going to be in the dark? Let me show you. So this is how it's going to look. You know, this is how it's going to look if you just hang it up on the wall. But if you were to hang it in a window or near a light, look at that. Look at that, y'all. I've never seen anything like this before, and I think it is absolutely beautiful. I hope you're inspired by these, but wait, it gets better. Come see my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's free to watch. The next is our deer wreath. So here's the beautiful deer. We're going to take that backing off just like we did before. I love the reveal on these. They're so beautiful. Oh, there's that beautiful, glossy, shiny deer. Shiny on one side and matte on the other side. It's almost a textured matte, too. Very pretty. He's so majestic. Now, speaking of scraps, these are some leftover, this is a leftover garland that I had from my winter and Christmas decorations that I thrifted. I'm also going to be using some green pipe cleaners, a black frame, and this wreath frame is 14 inches, so this is the medium size one. And I am going to flip this over, so we're not on the rounded side, we've got the underneath side of this wreath upward, so it is concave. There's like a dip, like a little ditch right in the middle. And across each of these little beams, or these little crossbars, I'm going to place one pie. Now, because my greenery is green, I want green ties. Ooh, why did I almost confuse myself saying that? Greenery is green, I need green ties. But if you chose to use something else, a darker color, or maybe you wanted to do something kind of crazy, or maybe you wanted to use autumn colors here, then maybe you would use a brown or a khaki colored. You want something that's going to, kind of blend in. I'm using these because it's easier to see these once I put that garland down, and then we can cut them off, and we'll use wire for the rest of it if we need to, or some hot glue. All right, so there are 6 crossbars and there are 6 pipe cleaners. I'm going to pull those out so I can easily lay my garland on the inside. Doesn't really matter where you start, but I don't want to leave any of these little pieces that connect it, the pieces where you can hang your garland. We don't need that for the wreath, so I'm just going to cut those pieces off, get those out of the way. Now you're almost laying this garland down in a little ditch, right? It is right in that scoop side, so it's in the back side, and we're laying this right on the inside of it. I'm going to place it in between where the little branch pieces go because I don't want to squish anything down. So you see I'm looking for the wire underneath, and I'm going to wrap around that so I'm not squishing the greenery. Again, same thing. I'm going to push that other stuff out of the way because we want it to be nice and fluffy. We don't want it to be stuck in place. And then we will wrap around here. Just a couple of twists to make sure that it stays in place. Now once it's all the way around to the original spot, you can cut that off, tuck that tail underneath, and if you need to wire that in, you can go ahead and wire that in. Very important is that for this part is that you fluff this out. The garlands are generally made where they are rounded, so they're equally proportioned on all sides. If that makes sense to you, you know what I mean. So when you lay it down flat, you want one side to be flat, and you want all the greenery to be outward and upward. So that's what we did. And look at the difference that that makes by itself. Now, there are a couple of places that still need a little extra love, but we're going to address those in a bit. Now we don't need those pipe cleaners anymore, so we're going to cut those off. If you leave those on for the rest of your greenery pieces, they'll be in the front and you're going to notice them. I don't want mine to be noticed. I want this to look like something very natural and rustic and woodsy. So we're going to take those out of there. And we'll go back to our skinny wires. Now I pulled these branches out of a wreath that I thrifted that had a bunch of branches and ferns and stuff like that in it. So a tip to you, if you are somebody who thrifts, if you see a wreath that maybe is not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, maybe it's not your style, but there are pieces, maybe you see mushrooms or branches or something in the greenery that you really love, go ahead and grab it. You can take them apart with either your wire cutters or your hands, and you can use those pieces again. And I love that these look so realistic. Once I have got these 3 branches in place, all I had was 3, and that's totally fine. I've kind of curved them just a bit so that they don't stick too far out of our circular shape. I'm going to go in there, and then the same thing, I don't want to mash down any of my greenery. So I'm going to go over it with a piece of that very, very thin wire, pull it to the back, and then twist it in place. Again, I'm not going to be twisting too tightly because I don't want to squish this. Squish? Yeah. I don't want to squish it and mash it and press it down to the point where it looks like somebody has walked all over it. No, we don't want that to happen. I want it to have some movement. You know what I mean when I say movement. You want it to have some shape and some direction to pull the eye and give it some interest and some depth and dimension. And that's what I try to do in all of my projects. But, you know, especially on a wreath, it can get flat and boring really fast if you're not careful. So do all those extra little things to give it that really good oomph when somebody looks at it. So I'm going to do the same thing now that I've put the branches on. I'm going to fluff that greenery around the branches so it looks like it's kind of together. Fluff it as full as I can. Then remember that tail piece we had? Well, now we can use that tail piece. So we're going to pull off or cut off the rest of the pieces that we had left and use those as fillers in all of the places where we can still see the wire, or maybe the greenery got pulled or damaged a little when you got it. You can use this to go right in there and attach it to the original garland underneath or to your wreath frame, whichever place you find a good position. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Now, since we laid this down in a clockwise fashion where it's going clockwise, it's important to keep the same shape and keep that greenery going in the same direction. I don't want to go against it. I want to keep it natural looking, so we're going to go with what the garland is already telling us. I'm also removing little spider webs with my hands if you get any glue webs in there. I had the fan on, and I do not recommend that you keep a fan blowing on you, hot flashes or not, when you're crafting and using a glue gun, because I had strings all over me, all over my shirt, all over the table, all over the glue gun, all over the stand where I have my glue gun. It is just a mess. It's very Halloweenish in there right now. Very spider welcoming. All right, look at the difference. And we're not even done yet. I mean, look at all that we have left over there. But I'll tell you, I'm using every piece off of that tail we had left. I sure am. Every piece of it. I'm just going to keep building up and building up until this thing is just as full and beautiful as I can make it. Isn't it pretty? I will be adding some more in the bottom underneath where we hang the deer, but I don't think I have that in the video. So we're going to take some more of that wire. I'm going to fold a half of it in half, so we're using a quarter of it. And the same thing here, we're going to go through the little holes that are in it. And this time I'm just going to go through the bottom, twist it around. I only have maybe 1/4 of an inch sticking up and twist it over on itself. Then I'm going to go through the grapevine wreath and just give it a twist to hold it in place until I stand it up and make sure that it is hanging evenly that it's not crooked. I wanted to remind you today that you matter. You matter to somebody. You matter to me. You do matter. Never think that you don't make a difference in the world and that you don't mean anything and you're not special, because you absolutely are. You are special. Once we know where this is going to be, we can go ahead and wrap it around firmly. And if you have excess, you can cut it off. Now let's see what he looks like with a little light. Very, very pretty. Very rustic. This is not a difficult project. We use thrifted pieces. Oh my goodness. This one is also gorgeous. Thank you so much for supporting me. To all of my magic makers, your memberships make a difference, and you help make it better for everyone who gets to watch it free. The piece de resistance, the fairy wreath. Okay, y'all, I got a big old box of moss. Yep, big box of moss. I've got some of this fall green ribbon. Beautiful. And this little wreath from Dollar Tree. This comes in a 2-pack. Okay, about 8 inches. Here's the beautiful fairy. Now she's a little different. The holes are on top. But look. Oh, she's beautiful. And if you don't do the fairy thing, you could always say she's an angel, right? She has wings, that's all we know. But I'm going to go with that kind of beautiful enchanted woodland look for her. Yes. I will tell you, this is my favorite wreath, so I hope you're still here at the end of this video, because this is really good. I really love this one. She's going in my room for sure. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing as we did before. You don't need to see me do this, I'm sure, but I'll just go ahead and show you again. If you want to kind of tuck it in here and then start wrapping it around, you can. This green is not going to be showing, but it's important that you cover this little piece, because this is a peekaboo wreath, and you need to have this covered, and then we're going to be gluing something down onto this. Now, we're not going to need these, and I don't want them there because there's no purpose for them. So I'm just going to carefully cut these little pieces off. This is acrylic, so it's pretty easy to get off. And then using my finger sander, I'm just going to make it nice and smooth. Okay? I am flipping this over, so we're looking at the back side of this little mini wreath. I'm going to add some glue on here. Carefully, you don't want anything gushing out, of course. And then we are going to place her down where the matte side is down and the shiny side is on the back. I want the matte side showing, so this is the front. Okay? Make sure she's centered and press it down. And there I am again with finger protectors and not using the fingers with the protectors. Okay, so now the fun part. I love playing with moss and greenery and things that you can find in nature. I'm going to add this all over here. Now, if you're wondering where this moss came from, we went to a dirt cheap kind of, they sell Amazon overstock items, and my daughter found it while we were in there. So I think I paid $5 for the box, and it also came with little thick moss mats that I used in a different project with the birds. Remember the birds in the basket? Yes, same packaging for all of it. So it was a very good deal. But you can get your moss at Dollar Tree. Here is some scrap pieces of fern, and these came from a lady who donated a bunch of things to me not long ago. I used it in another fairy project. And then these beautiful little pieces of perhaps seeds or little pods. Now these came out of the woods by my house. And then here's that grapevine wreath. And you'll notice on this wreath, they have these little curlies on them anyway. So I was inspired to go ahead and add the ones that we found in my yard all over this wreath to really give it that beautiful, whimsical look. Nature provides us with so many beautiful things that we can use. If you just pay attention, if you just pay attention. So many times we are kind of caught up in everyday things that we do and, paying the bills and working and taking out the trash. And, well, maybe if you have a long driveway, you can pay attention when you're walking to the driveway. What do you see on the ground? What do you see around you? What do you hear? Do you hear the birds? If you look up to see the bird, where the sound's coming from, do you see a nest? Is there moss in the tree? Is there moss on the ground? think that way, and you'll find all kinds of beautiful things. And it really does make my heart happy when I see things in nature that are beautiful that I can bring into my home. So I'm just kind of placing it here and there and just gluing it into place. It's really easy with these types of wreaths because you can tuck them in. You can tuck them straight down in there. It gives them a little more security. And then you can cut pieces apart like this one. Just gonna carefully cut that apart and then just tack them down wherever you like them. These are pretty. And I'm trying to make sure that I go all the way around the wreath. There's a couple of pieces toward the inside and some pieces that are sticking out of the outside because I feel like it gives it a little more whimsy. See the difference? Some of them are tightly curled, some of them are just kind of wavy, kind of like hair patterns, right? And this is how it looks once we get it all curlied up. It looks like it belongs to the wreath, doesn't it? Oh, I love it. Oh, my heart is so happy. Okay, so now I've got all this beautiful greenery, and I'm going to start picking some little bundles of fern to add here and there on this wreath. And I'm just looking at kind of, little natural like openings in the wreath, so it looks like they would actually grow out of that place. Plus, when you do it this way, it makes it easier for you to glue everything into place. It's like a little nest where you can add things. So that's what I'm going to do here. And if you need to add a little extra glue on your leaves, then just, a tiny bit of glue and then press it down. For me, these little plasticky pieces, they kind of turn back on themselves sometimes. I think it's just the way they were made because, ferns kind of grow in those little bunches like that. So it just depends on what you like. If you want to let them do their own thing, then you just let them do their own thing. You'll see me switching in between the bigger glue gun and the smaller glue gun because I run out so quickly with the smaller glue gun that the bigger one is always there for backup for me. It leaks a lot, I'll tell you that. It's sitting in a pewter cup to keep it from making any further mess, but it leaks, but it's a workhorse for sure. Now some places I don't have bunches, so some of them are just like one or two that I'm just going to tack together to make my own little bunch. You can cut your pieces down and make your pieces work for you. I know that you can get little pieces of fern at Dollar Tree. If you want smaller pieces like I have, just cut them. Just cut them, right? Be mindful of their shape so that it does still look like a fern when you're done. Wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. Just be careful how you cut them, and then you'll be fine. I'm going to add another little piece here. And these will just be going in all directions. Some toward the outside, some toward the inside. Beautiful. You could stop there if you wanted, but I'm going to add some moss. Of course, I'm going to add a couple more things here. Now, another great thing about a grapevine wreath is that you can just tuck pieces in here or there. This is preserved moss, so when you leave it out, it gets dry. So as this is drying, it's going to stay in place here. But just, if you are using dried moss or if you're just not sure how this would do, now you wouldn't want to put this outside. This is an inside wreath. But if you needed more security, you could go ahead and glue them in place. I will be gluing some pieces, and some I'm just going to leave. I'll leave them alone. I like the shape of the moss, and if you use a lot of glue or too much glue, you're going to burn your fingers and you're going to deform the shape of them little clumps of moss, and I don't want to do that. I want them to be nice and fluffy. Nice and fluffy, so it's a little place for the little frogs and lizards and fairies to lay their heads, right? Probably could have used the entire box of moss on here. I was having so much fun. It's another one of those projects where you get lost in the work, and that's where I was, just totally lost in the work. Be sure you look at all of the angles, turn it like I'm turning it, lift it up, see what is what, where is where, and make sure that it is exactly what makes you happy. Now, We're going to add some in the middle of the bunches of ferns here and there. Here I am looking to see if everything is great. And then these I got from Temu as well. They're just little mushrooms, and they start off shiny, but I sprayed mine with some matte sealer, so they look a little more matte. And I'm just going to add these here and there. They blend well. Nothing is standing out. This still looks like you could walk through the forest and see this on the forest floor. I'm going to put some of these single, some of these double. I get to a point where I realized, hey, I really like these. And I just start laying them down where I think, because I don't want to run out, you know? So I kind of lay them down to see where I think I might want them. And that was just my way of saying, hey, don't run out. Don't run out. I got carried away on the bottom. So, and I do realize that the wreath is big and you can't see what I'm doing on the top, but I promise you it's the same thing I'm doing everywhere else where you can actually see what I'm doing. Just tucking them in here or there. Nice, nice. All right, and I'm going to take those little pieces. Do you know what kind of flower this is? Y'all have any idea? Because I'm not sure. But they were very easy to pull off a little branch. I got these at the thrift store. When I say I got it at the thrift store, I got it at the Goodwill bins. And y'all, I don't mean I went on one trip and got all this. And I don't mean I'm going every day. I have not been to the thrift store since October. I have a stash of things that I need to go through. So I'm doing some thrift flips. I'm using some of the greenery and stuff that I'm telling you, my studio was a mess. It's shameful that I had such a mess in here because it wasn't organized. Some things that I wanted to do got lost. But that's okay because I still have the ideas and we're going to do them now. Yes, we are. They inspired me in the store and I remember why I bought them. So we're going to start using them. Yes, you're going to see some thrift flips this year. All right, so I'm just going to place these here and there. You know, this is going to give it sort of a springy look, but keep in mind that there's a lot of purple in that acrylic piece that we're going to be using. So that little Suncatcher has a lot of purple in it. This is sort of a wilder look, a more natural look that I'm doing. And it just seems fairy-like. It seems light and wispy and just beautifully fairy-like. So I'm going to add a mushroom to the peekaboo section and a little flower. And we already had the little pearls there. She's beautiful. Now we're going to use some jute to hang this one. I'm always trying to give you ideas, but you can use your wire here if you would like. You can hang this any way you want. I'm going to use the jute. I'm going to show you how you can do it. And I think it looks very good with the type of wreath that we're doing, with the theme of this wreath. So I'm just going to tuck this around the outside where it connects to the ribbon, push it into place, and then we can add a little more glue over the top. Use cool glue so you're not burning your fingers here, or use your finger protectors. Just going to use a piece of ribbon to lock it in, trim it off, and then we're going to go through the frame like we did with the other. And we're going to hang it, see whatever height that you like. And I love the jute with this one. I just think it's so pretty. Can't you see that in miniature form in a little fairy house hanging on her wall? Oh my goodness. All right, so once we know how far down we want this to hang, we can go ahead and tie it off and trim off, you know, whatever excess we have. We don't have to keep that. And because it is a viney wreath, you can just hang it right from the vine. You don't have to actually put a holder of any type on, but you could if you want to. Oh my goodness. All right, y'all, look at the magic of these beauties. I'm telling you, these are pretty. You can put these in your window, maybe hang it in your kitchen window where the sun comes in and you can see this beautiful stained glass look. Maybe put it on your patio door, put it out back, somewhere the sun's going to shine. I'd love to have you subscribe to this channel if you think these crafts are interesting and you feel inspired by the pieces. If you give me a thumbs up, it helps me to know that I'm putting out the kind of content that you're interested in. If you click that notification bell, you won't miss it when we have comments going on in the community tab. Look. Oh, I don't even know which one of these is my favorite. Probably the fairy, just because she's so magical and beautiful and whimsical. But I don't know. They're all pretty darn good. There's a man in your life. This might be the thing for him for his man cave. How pretty would that be? Or maybe at the camp. I love these. I think that my grandson likes the owl the best. So now for a closer look at the wreaths itself, I've turned the lights on so you can see exactly what our greenery and in the other parts of the wreath look like, rather than just focusing on the beautiful piece in the center. Y'all, there are all kinds of beautiful pieces over there. Like I said, not sponsored, but Temu has these in many, many shapes and sizes and styles. Love them. I thank you so much today for stopping by, for watching my video and spending time with me. As always, you matter. Give me a comment and I'll talk back with you. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you soon. Bye.